The package arrived on a Thursday afternoon. I wasn't expecting anything. I'd been working from home all day, my tablet propped up on the kitchen counter while I sketched character designs for a client. The knock on the door startled me enough that I almost dropped my stylus. I opened the door to find a courier holding a medium-sized box. It was wrapped in simple brown paper with my name printed neatly on a white label. Kayla Hale, Apartment 204. "Sign here, please," the courier said, holding out a digital pad. I signed without thinking, took the box, and closed the door. It wasn't heavy, but it had weight to it. I set it on my coffee table and stared at it for a moment. I hadn't ordered anything. My birthday was months away. Christmas was still 2 weeks out. I grabbed scissors from the kitchen drawer and cut through the tape. Inside, beneath layers of tissue paper, was a dress. A beautiful dress. Deep emerald green with delicate fabric that caught the light when I lifted it. It looked expensive, the kind of thing I'd never buy for myself. My heart started beating faster. I reached back into the box and found a small card tucked beneath more tissue paper. I pulled it out and read the handwritten note. "Wear this dress to the apartment community party, from someone who loves you very much." I read it again, then again. My hands were shaking slightly. Someone who loves me very much. I didn't have a boyfriend. Didn't have a girlfriend. Barely talked to anyone in this building except for polite nods in the hallway. I turned the box over, looking for more information. Nothing. Just the return address label from a boutique dress store downtown called Adelaine's. No sender name, no receipt, no clue. I held the dress up against myself and walked to the mirror in my bedroom. It was stunning, exactly my size, exactly my style. Whoever sent this knew me. Or at least knew something about me. But who? I sat on the edge of my bed with the dress draped across my lap and the note in my hand. My mind raced through possibilities. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was meant for someone else. But no, my name was right there on the label. I felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. This was the kind of thing that happened in movies, not real life. Not my life. I folded the dress carefully and placed it back in the box. Then I put the box in my closet and tried to go back to work. But I couldn't focus. Every few minutes I'd glance toward my bedroom, thinking about that dress and that note. Someone who loves you very much. Who could it be? I couldn't stop thinking about it. That night, I pulled the box out of my closet 3 times. I'd take out the dress, hold it up, read the note again, then put everything back. The handwriting was clean and deliberate, not rushed. The ink was black, the letters slightly slanted. It felt intentional, like someone had taken their time writing it. I sat cross-legged on my bed with my laptop open, searching for the dress store. Adelaine's had a website, high-end boutique, custom fittings, by appointment only. The dresses in their online gallery started at $400. This wasn't a casual gift. This was planned. I closed my laptop and lay back on my pillows. I tried to think of anyone who might have done this. My coworkers at the studio were friendly, but distant. We talked about projects and deadlines, not personal things. My friends from college had all moved to different cities. We texted occasionally, but nobody knew my life here well enough to do something like this. My neighbors, I barely knew them. There was the older couple on the 3rd floor who always smiled at me. The guy across the hall who played guitar too loud on weekends. The woman with the 2 dogs who I'd held the elevator for a few times. None of them made sense. I picked up the note again and studied it. From someone who loves you very much, not liked, not admired, loved. That word felt heavy. I thought about the apartment community party. It was this Saturday. A casual Christmas gathering in the building's common hall. Free food, music, decorations. I'd seen the flyer in the lobby, but hadn't planned on going. I usually avoided those kinds of things. Too many people, too much small talk. But now I had to go. Whoever sent this dress wanted me there. They'd see me wearing it. Maybe they'd reveal themselves. Maybe I'd figure it out by watching reactions. I folded the note and slipped it into my nightstand drawer. Then I hung the dress in my closet where I could see it. The emerald fabric seemed to glow even in the dim light. I tried to sleep, but my mind wouldn't stop. Every scenario played out differently. What if it was someone creepy? What if it was a prank? What if it was something real? By the time morning came, I'd made my decision. I was going to wear the dress, I was going to that party, and I was going to find out who sent it. Saturday arrived faster than I expected. I spent most of the day trying to distract myself with work, but my mind kept drifting to the evening ahead. I finished a client's sketch by noon, then cleaned my apartment even though it didn't need it. Anything to keep my hands busy. By 5 o'clock, I was standing in front of my closet, staring at the dress. The party started at 6. I had an hour. I showered and took my time drying my hair. I didn't usually fuss over my appearance, but tonight felt different. I wanted to look like I belonged in this dress, like I deserved it. I slipped it on, and it fit perfectly. The fabric moved with me, soft against my skin. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the person staring back. I looked elegant, confident, like someone worth noticing. I added small earrings and a bit of makeup. Nothing dramatic, just enough. I grabbed my phone and keys, took one last look, and left my apartment before I could change my mind. The hallway was quiet. Most people were probably already downstairs. I could hear faint music coming from the ground floor as I walked toward the elevator. My heart was pounding. I pressed the button and waited. The doors opened, and I stepped inside. As they closed, I caught my reflection in the mirrored wall. I looked nervous. I tried to relax my shoulders, soften my expression. The elevator descended slowly. When it reached the ground floor, the doors opened to the sound of laughter and holiday music. The common hall was decorated with string lights and a massive Christmas tree in the corner. Tables were set up with food and drinks. People were mingling, talking, holding plates. I stepped out and immediately felt eyes on me. A few people glanced my way. I couldn't tell if it was because of the dress or just normal curiosity. I moved toward the drink table and poured myself a glass of sparkling cider. My hands were steady, but my mind was racing. I scanned the room, looking for anyone who seemed too interested, anyone watching me a little too closely. Nothing obvious, just neighbors being polite. I took a sip and tried to blend in. A woman I recognized from the second floor smiled at me. "That dress is gorgeous," she said. "Thank you," I replied, my voice sounding more confident than I felt. She moved on, and I was alone again. I walked slowly around the room, pretending to admire the decorations while really watching faces. Someone here knew. Someone here was waiting. I just had to figure out who. The party was louder than I expected. Conversations overlapped. Christmas music played from hidden speakers, and the smell of baked cookies filled the air. I stood near the edge of the room with my drink, observing. A group of younger residents laughed near the food table. An older man I'd seen walking his dog was talking to the building manager. A few couples swayed near the Christmas tree, not quite dancing, but moving to the music. I felt out of place, not because of the dress, but because I didn't belong to any of these groups. I was the quiet one, the one who kept to herself. I finished my cider and considered leaving. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe whoever sent the dress wasn't even here. Then I felt it. That prickling sensation on the back of my neck. The feeling of being watched. I turned slightly, scanning the room again. My eyes moved past familiar faces, past strangers, and then they stopped. She was standing near the far wall, tall, slim, wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. Her hair was short. She held a glass of wine in one hand, but she wasn't drinking. She was looking at me. Our eyes met. My breath caught. I didn't know her. At least, I didn't think I did. But something about the way she stood, the way she watched, made my heart race. She didn't look away. Neither did I. The noise of the party faded slightly. It was just her and me, and this strange pull I couldn't explain. Then she moved. She set her glass down on a nearby table and started walking toward me. Her steps were slow, deliberate, confident. I should have looked away, should have moved, but I couldn't. She stopped a few feet from me. Up close, she was even more striking. Gray eyes, sharp features, a calm expression that gave nothing away. "Kayla," she said. My name sounded different in her voice, softer somehow. "Yes," I managed. She smiled slightly. Not wide, just a subtle lift at the corners of her mouth. "I hoped you'd wear it." The words hung in the air between us. I hoped you'd wear it. My mind scrambled to catch up. "You," I said. It wasn't a question. It was a realization. She nodded once. "I'm Faith." Faith. The name didn't sound familiar. But then again, I didn't know most people in this building. "You sent the dress?" I said. My voice came out steadier than I felt. "I did." I stared at her, trying to process. This woman, this stranger, had bought me an expensive dress and left a note saying she loved me. None of it made sense. "Why?" I asked. Faith's expression didn't change. She looked at me like she'd expected this question, like she'd already prepared for it. "Because I wanted to see you wear it," she said simply. That wasn't an answer. Not really. I felt my defenses rising. "You don't even know me. I know more than you think." That should have sounded creepy. It should have made me walk away. But the way she said it, calm and honest, made me pause. "How?" I asked. Faith glanced around the room briefly, then back at me. "We've lived in the same building for 8 months. I've seen you in the lobby, in the elevator, at the mailboxes. I've watched you carry your art supplies up the stairs when the elevator was broken. I've noticed the way you always hold the door for people, even when they don't say thank you." My chest tightened. She'd been paying attention. All this time I thought I was invisible here. "That doesn't mean you love me," I said, my voice quieter now. Faith's gray eyes softened slightly. "No," she agreed. "But it means I wanted to know you, and I thought this might be a way to start." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to be angry. This was bold, maybe too bold. But another part of me, the part I usually kept hidden, felt something else. Flattered, seen. "You could have just introduced yourself," I said. "I could have," Faith admitted. "But would you have noticed me? Probably not. I would have smiled politely and kept walking. I was good at keeping people at a distance." "I don't know what you want from me," I said honestly. Faith took a small step closer. "Not invading my space, just closing the gap slightly. I want to know you, Kayla. That's all. No expectations, no pressure." I looked down at the dress I was wearing. Her dress. "This feels like pressure." "Then don't wear it again," Faith said. "But tonight, you did, and I'm grateful." There was something disarming about her honesty. She wasn't playing games. She wasn't pretending this wasn't strange. "I need to think," I said. Faith nodded. "Of course. Take all the time you need." She stepped back slightly, giving me space. Then she reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a small card. She held it out to me. "My number. If you want to talk." I took the card without thinking. Our fingers brushed briefly. Hers were warm. "Enjoy the party, Kayla," Faith said softly. Then she turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. I stood there holding her card, my heart pounding, wondering what I'd just walked into. I left the party 20 minutes later. I couldn't focus on anything except Faith's words replaying in my mind. "I wanted to see you wear it. I want to know you." Back in my apartment, I kicked off my shoes and sat on the couch, still wearing the dress. I pulled out Faith's card. It was simple, just her name and phone number printed in clean black text. I set it on the coffee table and stared at it. This was crazy. A 53-year-old woman I'd never spoken to had bought me a dress and told me she loved me, or wanted to know me, or something in between. I should have been more upset. I should have felt violated or uncomfortable, but I didn't. I felt confused and curious, and maybe a little bit excited. I stood up and changed into my pajamas, hanging the dress carefully in my closet. Then I made tea and sat by my window, looking out at the city lights. Tacoma looked quiet tonight. A light rain had started, making everything glisten. I watched droplets race down the glass and thought about Faith's gray eyes. She'd been watching me for 8 months. That should have felt invasive. Instead, it felt like someone had finally seen me when I thought I was invisible. I picked up my phone and almost texted her. Then I stopped. What would I even say? Thank you for the dress. Why me? What happens now? I put the phone down and finished my tea. I needed time to think, to figure out what I was feeling. But as I climbed into bed that night, I couldn't stop thinking about the way Faith had looked at me. Like I mattered. Like I was worth the risk. The next few days passed in a blur. I went to work at the studio on Monday and tried to focus on a new project, but my mind kept drifting. I'd catch myself staring at nothing, remembering Faith's voice, the way she'd said my name. I hadn't texted her. The card sat on my nightstand where I'd see it every morning and every night. A reminder that I had a choice to make. By Wednesday, I'd convinced myself this whole thing was too much. Age gap aside, the boldness of it felt overwhelming. I didn't do grand gestures. I didn't do mystery and romance. I liked things simple, predictable. But Thursday afternoon changed everything. I'd been grocery shopping after work. Just basics: eggs, bread, some vegetables. I was carrying 2 bags and heading toward the elevator when I heard it ding and saw the doors start to close. "Hold it, please," I called out, rushing forward. A hand appeared between the doors, stopping them. They slid open again, and I stepped inside, slightly out of breath. "Thank you," I said automatically, then looked up. Faith. My stomach dropped. She stood in the corner of the elevator, wearing dark jeans and a gray sweater. Casual, but still put together. Her gray eyes met mine, and something flickered there. Recognition, maybe surprise. "Kayla," she said softly. "Hi," I managed. The doors closed. We were alone. The elevator started moving up. I shifted my grocery bags, suddenly hyper-aware of everything. The hum of the elevator, the faint scent of her perfume. The way she stood perfectly still, while I felt like I might vibrate out of my skin. "How have you been?" Faith asked. Her voice was calm, like this wasn't the most awkward situation in the world. "Fine," I said. "Busy with work." "Your illustrations." I blinked. "You know what I do?" "I told you," Faith said. "I've been paying attention." The elevator dinged. 2nd floor? Not my floor. Not hers either, I assumed. But I couldn't take this anymore. The tension, the closeness, the way my heart was racing. When the doors opened, I stepped out. "This isn't your floor," Faith said behind me. "I know," I said without turning around. "I'll take the stairs." I walked quickly down the hallway toward the stairwell, my face burning. I heard the elevator doors close behind me. Faith didn't follow. I climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, then up to my apartment, my grocery bags feeling heavier with each step. Inside, I dropped everything on the counter and pressed my hands against my face. What was wrong with me? Why did being near her make me feel like this? Nervous and off balance and something else I couldn't name. I put away the groceries mechanically, then sat on my couch and stared at my phone. Faith's card was still on my nightstand. I could text her, apologize for running away, explain that I needed space, but I didn't, because I didn't know what I wanted. And until I figured that out, keeping my distance felt safer. Friday morning, I woke up to an email from the building management. The subject line read, "Winter camping trip. Spots still available." I opened it out of curiosity. Every year, the apartment community organized a winter camping trip to a nearby state park. 2 nights, basic amenities, campfires, and s'mores. I'd seen the flyers last year, but never considered going. But this year, reading through the details, something shifted. I loved camping. It was one of the few things from my childhood I still enjoyed. My dad used to take me to the mountains every summer. We'd pitch a tent, cook over a fire, sleep under the stars. I hadn't been camping since I moved to Tacoma. Work and life got in the way. But now, seeing this opportunity, I felt a pull. I clicked the registration link and signed up before I could overthink it. I felt lighter after that, like I'd given myself something to look forward to. Something that had nothing to do with mysterious dresses or complicated women. The weekend passed quietly. I worked on illustrations, watched movies, avoided the common areas of the building. I told myself I wasn't hiding from Faith. I just needed space. Monday morning, I checked my email again and saw a new message from building management. Camping trip update, participant list. I scrolled through the names. 23 people signed up. I recognized a few, the couple from the 3rd floor, the guy with the guitar, a few others I'd seen around. Then I saw it. Faith Langford. My heart sank. Of course she'd signed up. Of course. I closed my laptop and tried not to think about it. 2 weeks was a long time. Maybe she'd cancel. Maybe I would. Maybe it wouldn't matter. But deep down, I knew it would. I didn't see Faith. Not in the elevator, not in the lobby, not anywhere. It was like she'd disappeared. Part of me felt relieved. Another part felt strangely disappointed. Thursday afternoon, I got an email with the final details. Meeting point, departure time, what to bring. I read through it twice, making a mental checklist. Sleeping bag, warm clothes, flashlight, water bottle. I had most of it already. Friday after work, I stopped at an outdoor store and bought a few last-minute things. Hand warmers, a better pair of gloves, some trail mix. That night, I packed my backpack, laying everything out on my bed first. I'd done this dozens of times as a kid, but now it felt different. I was nervous, not about the camping itself, but about who else would be there. Saturday morning arrived cold and gray. I dressed in layers, thermal shirt, fleece, waterproof jacket. I pulled my hair into a ponytail and grabbed my backpack. The meeting point was the parking lot behind the building at 8 in the morning. When I got there, a few people were already loading gear into 2 large vans. I recognized the building manager coordinating everything. He waved when he saw me. "Kayla, good morning. Throw your bag in the back of the second van." I did, then stood awkwardly to the side while others arrived. The couple from the 3rd floor showed up with matching jackets. The guitar guy came with a friend I didn't recognize. A few younger residents I'd seen but never talked to. Then Faith arrived. She walked across the parking lot carrying a sleek black backpack. She wore hiking boots, dark pants, and a forest green jacket that somehow looked both practical and elegant. Her short hair was tucked under a beanie. Our eyes met briefly. She nodded once. I looked away. "All right, everyone, let's load up," the building manager called out. "It's about an hour drive. Get comfortable." I climbed into the second van and took a seat near the back. Other people filed in. I kept my eyes on my phone, pretending to check messages. Then someone slid into the seat next to me. I looked up. "Faith, is this seat taken?" she asked quietly. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to move, but there were no other empty seats, and people were watching. "No," I said. She sat down, keeping a respectful distance. The van started moving. Conversations filled the space around us, but Faith and I sat in silence. After about 20 minutes, she spoke. "I didn't know you liked camping. There's a lot you don't know about me," I said. It came out sharper than I intended. Faith didn't flinch. "That's true. That's why I'd like to get to know you." I turned to look at her. "This is weird. You know that, right?" "Yes," Faith said simply. It is. Her honesty caught me off guard. I'd expected her to defend herself, to make excuses. Then why? I asked. Faith looked at me with those gray eyes. Because sometimes the things worth having are weird and uncomfortable and scary. I didn't know what to say to that, so I turned back to the window and watched the city fade into trees and mountains. We didn't speak again for the rest of the drive. The campsite was beautiful. Tall pine trees surrounded a clearing with fire pits and picnic tables. Snow dusted the ground, but not heavily. The air smelled clean and cold. Everyone grabbed their gear, and the building manager started directing people. We've got 10 tents set up already. I'll call out names for tent assignments. I stood with my backpack, hoping I'd get paired with someone easy. Maybe the older couple. Maybe one of the quiet younger residents. Tent 7, the manager called out. Kayla Hale and Faith Langford. My stomach dropped. I looked at Faith. She looked at the manager. Is there any way to switch? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. The manager checked his clipboard. Everything's assigned based on arrival, order, and availability. Sorry, no switches. Tent 7 is just over there past the big pine. Faith picked up her backpack. We'll make it work, she said. Not to me, but to the manager. I wanted to argue. I wanted to demand a different arrangement. But everyone was watching, and I didn't want to cause a scene. So I followed Faith toward Tent 7. It was a standard 2-person tent already set up. Faith unzipped the entrance and looked inside. Plenty of room, she said. I dropped my backpack outside. I'll sleep by the entrance. Whatever makes you comfortable, Faith said. We spent the next hour setting up our sleeping areas in silence. Faith was efficient, methodical. She rolled out her sleeping bag, organized her things neatly in one corner, then stepped outside to give me space. I did the same on my side, trying to ignore the fact that we'd be sleeping 3 feet apart. The afternoon passed with group activities. A short hike through the woods, hot chocolate around the fire, people sharing stories. I stayed on the edge of everything, participating but not engaging too much. Faith kept her distance. She talked with other residents, helped gather firewood, laughed at someone's joke. She didn't push, didn't try to sit near me or force conversation. I told myself I was grateful, but part of me noticed every time she looked my way and then looked away. Dinner was camp stew and bread cooked over the fire. It tasted better than it should have. The cold air made everything sharper, more real. As the sun set, the temperature dropped fast. People started heading to their tents. I stayed by the fire as long as I could, but eventually the cold became too much. I walked back to Tent 7. Faith was already inside, sitting on top of her sleeping bag, reading something on her phone by flashlight. I'll turn this off if it bothers you, she said when I entered. It's fine, I said. I climbed into my sleeping bag, fully clothed, and zipped it up to my chin. The ground was cold beneath me, even with the sleeping pad. I could see my breath in the air. Faith turned off her phone. Darkness filled the tent, except for faint moonlight filtering through the fabric. Good night, Kayla, she said softly. Good night, I replied. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep, but all I could think about was how close she was and how cold it was getting. I woke up shivering. It had to be past midnight. The cold had seeped through my sleeping bag, through my clothes, into my bones. I curled tighter, trying to generate warmth, but it wasn't working. My teeth started chattering. I pressed my hands between my knees and tried to breathe slowly. Maybe if I just waited, I'd warm up eventually. Kayla. Faith's voice cut through the darkness. I'm fine. I managed through chattering teeth. You're not fine. You're freezing. I'll be okay. I heard movement. Faith unzipped her sleeping bag. Come here. What? Come under my blanket. I have an extra one. You need to get warm. No, I'm good. Kayla. Her voice was firmer now. You're going to make yourself sick. Let me help. I wanted to refuse. Pride told me to stay where I was. But another shiver racked my body, and I realized she was right. I was freezing. "Fine," I whispered. I unzipped my sleeping bag and crawled the short distance to her side of the tent. Faith had laid out a thick blanket over her sleeping bag. She lifted the edge. "Come on," she said gently. I hesitated for one more second, then slid under the blanket next to her. The warmth hit me immediately. Faith's body heat, the extra layer, all of it. "Better?" she asked. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Faith shifted slightly, giving me more room. "You can get closer if you need to. I don't bite." Despite everything, I almost smiled. I moved a little closer, and Faith carefully put her arm around me. Not tight, not possessive. Just there. "Is this okay?" she asked. "Yes," I whispered. We lay like that in the darkness. Slowly, the shivering stopped. My body relaxed, the cold retreated. "Thank you," I said quietly. "You're welcome." Minutes passed. I should have felt awkward, but I didn't. I felt safe, warm, protected in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. "Faith," I said. "Yes." "Why did you really send me that dress?" She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Because I saw you one morning in the lobby. You were carrying your art bag, and you dropped your keys. When you bent to pick them up, you smiled at yourself like you thought it was funny instead of frustrating. And I thought, that's someone I want to know." My chest tightened. That's it, Faith said. "Sometimes it's the small moments that matter most." I didn't know what to say, so I just lay there, warm and confused and feeling something shift inside me. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Anything." "Are you scared?" I asked. "Of this? Of whatever this is?" Faith's arm tightened slightly around me. "Terrified," she admitted, "but I think you're worth being scared for." My heart was pounding now, but not from cold. From something else entirely. I turned my head slightly. In the darkness, I could barely make out her face, but I could feel her breath warm against my forehead. "I don't know what I'm doing," I whispered. "Neither do I," Faith said. And then, without planning it, without thinking, I leaned in and kissed her. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, like we were both asking a question neither of us knew how to answer. Faith didn't pull away. She didn't push forward either. She just responded, gentle and careful, letting me lead. I pulled back after a moment, my heart racing. "I'm sorry," I said quickly. "I don't know why I did that." "Don't apologize," Faith said quietly. "Not for that." We lay in silence, the weight of what just happened settling between us. I could still feel the warmth of her lips, the softness of the kiss. "I'm not good at this," I said. "I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" "Feel things. Let people in. Trust." Faith's hand moved gently against my back. "You don't have to be good at it. You just have to be honest." "I'm 24, I said. "You're 53. People will talk. Let them talk. You don't understand. I've spent my whole life trying to be invisible. This us, whatever this is, it's the opposite of that." "Then maybe it's time to stop being invisible," Faith said. "Maybe it's time to let yourself be seen." Her words hit something deep inside me. I'd been hiding for so long, I'd forgotten what it felt like to be truly visible to someone. "I'm scared," I admitted. "I know," Faith said. "So am I." I shifted closer, pressing my face against her shoulder. She smelled like pine and cold air, and something uniquely her. "Can we just stay like this for a while?" I asked. "As long as you want," Faith said. I closed my eyes and let myself relax completely. The warmth, the safety, the quiet comfort of her presence. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I felt like I could breathe. Sleep came easier than I expected. And when it did, I dreamed of green dresses and gray eyes, and the possibility of something I'd never let myself imagine before. I woke to soft morning light filtering through the tent. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then I felt the warmth beside me and remembered. Faith was still asleep, her arms still around me. Her face looked peaceful, younger somehow. I studied her features in the gentle light. The lines around her eyes, the gray in her hair, the strong line of her jaw. She was beautiful. Not in the obvious way, but in the way that mattered. The kind of beauty that came from confidence and kindness and living fully. Her eyes opened slowly. When she saw me watching her, she smiled. Not big, just a small curve of her lips. "Good morning," she said, her voice rough with sleep. "Morning," I replied. Neither of us moved. We just lay there, looking at each other, the reality of last night settling in. "How do you feel?" Faith asked. "Warm," I said. Then, more honestly confused. "But in a good way, I think." Faith nodded. "That's fair." Outside the tent, I could hear voices. People were waking up, starting their day. Soon we'd have to join them. "We should probably get up," I said. "Probably," Faith agreed. But neither of us moved. Finally, I sat up, immediately missing the warmth. Faith did the same, giving me space. We packed up our sleeping gear in comfortable silence. When we emerged from the tent, a few people were already at the fire making coffee. The older couple waved. I waved back. Faith walked beside me to the fire pit. When someone offered us coffee, we both accepted. We stood side by side, warming our hands on the mugs, not touching, but close enough that I could feel her presence. The building manager announced breakfast would be ready in 30 minutes. People scattered to wash up or take morning walks. "Want to walk?" Faith asked me. I nodded. We followed a small trail that led away from the campsite. The morning was cold but clear. Our breath made clouds in the air. "Last night," I started, then stopped. "Was real," Faith finished. "Yeah," I said, "it was." We walked a bit further. Then Faith said, "I don't want to pressure you, Kayla. Whatever pace you need, whatever boundaries you need, I'll respect them." I looked at her. "What do you want?" Honestly, Faith stopped walking and turned to face me. "I want to know everything about you. I want to take you to dinner and hear about your art and learn what makes you laugh. I want to be someone you trust, someone you choose." My throat tightened. "That's a lot." "I know," Faith said. "That's why I'm willing to wait." I thought about the dress, the note, the elevator moment, the cold night. Every interaction had been Faith, being patient, being honest, being there without demanding anything. "I think," I said slowly, "I'd like to have your number. Actually use it this time." Faith smiled. "I'd like that too." We walked back to camp together, and when breakfast was served, we sat next to each other, not making a show of it, just naturally gravitating to the same space. I caught a few curious glances from other residents, but I didn't care as much as I thought I would. For the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The rest of the camping trip passed in a comfortable blur. Faith and I didn't announce anything, didn't make grand gestures. We just existed in the same space, talking when it felt natural, sitting together by the fire, helping each other pack up on the last day. The ride back to Tacoma felt different than the ride there. Faith sat next to me again, but this time I didn't mind. We talked about small things, her work in real estate, my illustrations, favorite books, bad movies we secretly loved. It felt easy, normal, like we'd been doing this for years instead of days. When we got back to the building, everyone dispersed to their apartments. Faith and I stood in the lobby for a moment, both holding our backpacks. "Thank you," I said, "for keeping me warm, for being patient, for everything." "You don't have to thank me," Faith said, "but you're welcome anyway." She reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. "Can I have your number? Actually get it this time, instead of just giving you mine." I smiled and recited it. She typed it in, and then her phone was buzzing in her hand. She'd sent me a text. Just a simple, "It's Faith. Now you have mine too," she said. We rode the elevator up together. When it stopped at my floor, I hesitated. "I'll text you," I said. "I hope you do," Faith replied. I stepped out and the doors closed. I walked to my apartment, feeling lighter than I had in months. Inside, I unpacked my camping gear, showered, and changed into clean clothes. Then I sat on my couch and looked at my phone. I opened the text from Faith and stared at it for a moment. Then I typed, "Thank you for the dress, and for everything that came after." Her response came quickly. "Thank you for wearing it, and for giving me a chance." I smiled at my phone. Then I typed again, "Want to get coffee this week?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. "I'd love that. When works for you?" Thursday afternoon, perfect. I know a place. We texted back and forth for a while. Nothing deep, just easy conversation. When I finally put my phone down, I realized I was smiling. I walked to my closet and looked at the emerald dress hanging there, the dress that started everything. I touched the fabric gently, remembering that night at the party. The way Faith had looked at me, the way she'd said, "I hoped you'd wear it." She'd taken a risk, a big one, and somehow, impossibly, it had led to this. I wasn't sure where this was going. I wasn't sure if it would work out, but for the first time in my life, I was willing to find out. Thursday came faster than I expected. I changed outfits 3 times before settling on jeans and a sweater. Casual, but put together. I didn't want to look like I was trying too hard. Faith had sent me the address of the coffee shop that morning. It was a small place downtown, the kind with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. I arrived 5 minutes early and waited outside, my hands shoved in my jacket pockets against the cold. Then I saw her walking down the street. She wore dark pants and a long coat, her short hair slightly windblown. When she spotted me, her face softened into a smile. "Hi," she said when she reached me. "Hi," I replied. We went inside and ordered. Faith got black coffee. I got a latte. We found a corner table by the window and sat across from each other. "How's your week been?" Faith asked. "Good, busy with work. I finished a big project yesterday. The character designs." I blinked. "How did you know about that?" "You mentioned it at the campfire," Faith said. "When you were talking to the guitar guy about creative work." She'd been listening. Even when we weren't directly talking, she'd been paying attention. "It went well," I said. "The client loved it." "I'd like to see your work sometime," Faith said. "If you're comfortable sharing." "Maybe," I said. "It's personal. I don't show it to many people." "I understand," Faith said. "No pressure." We talked for over an hour about everything and nothing. She told me about how she got into real estate, starting small and working her way up. I told her about moving to Tacoma alone, how scary and exciting it had been. At some point, Faith reached across the table and gently touched my hand, just her fingers against mine. "Is this okay?" she asked. I looked at our hands. Hers was warm, steady. Mine was smaller, uncertain. "Yes," I said. We stayed like that for a while, just talking and holding hands across a coffee shop table. It felt simple and profound at the same time. When we finally left, the sun was setting. Faith walked me back toward my building, even though it was out of her way. "I had a really good time," I said when we reached the entrance. "So did I," Faith replied. There was a moment where we both stood there, not quite ready to say goodbye. "Can I see you again?" Faith asked. "I'd like that," I said. She smiled. "Good." Then, before I could second-guess myself, I leaned up and kissed her. Quick and soft, but intentional. When I pulled back, Faith's eyes were warm. "I'll text you," she said. "You better," I replied. I watched her walk away, then went inside. In the elevator, I touched my lips and smiled. This was happening. Whatever this was, it was really happening. Over the next 2 weeks, Faith and I fell into a rhythm. We texted every day, sometimes about important things, sometimes about nothing at all. She'd send me pictures of interesting buildings she saw during work. I'd send her sketches I was working on. We met for coffee twice more, then dinner at a quiet restaurant. then a walk through a park even though it was freezing. Each time, it got easier. The nervousness faded. The conversation flowed. I started looking forward to seeing her in a way that both excited and terrified me. One evening, Faith texted asking if I wanted to come to her apartment. "I'm decorating my Christmas tree," she wrote. "Could use a creative eye." I stared at the message. Going to her apartment felt like a step. A big one. But I wanted to, so I texted back. "Give me 20 minutes. Faith lived on the 4th floor. Her apartment was bigger than mine, with high ceilings and large windows. It was tastefully decorated, everything in its place but not sterile. Lived in but cared for. The Christmas tree stood in the corner, already strewn with lights but nothing else. "I have ornaments but no sense of design," Faith said, gesturing to several boxes on the couch. I laughed. "That's what you need me for." "Among other things," Faith said, meeting my eyes. We spent the next hour decorating. I arranged ornaments by color and size, while Faith hung them where I directed. We debated about tinsel. She wanted it. I thought it was tacky, and eventually compromised with a garland instead. When we finished, we stood back to admire our work. The tree glowed warmly, casting soft light around the room. "It's perfect." "It's pretty good," I agreed. Faith went to the kitchen and returned with 2 glasses of wine. We sat on the couch, the tree lights twinkling beside us. "Thank you for coming over," Faith said. "Thank you for inviting me," I replied. We talked quietly, the conversation drifting from topic to topic. At some point, I leaned against her shoulder. She put her arm around me. "Kayla," Faith said softly. "Yeah, I really like spending time with you." I turned to look at her. "I really like spending time with you too." She leaned down and kissed me. Slow and deep, tasting like wine and promise. I kissed her back, my hand coming up to touch her face. When we broke apart, we were both breathing harder. "Stay for a while," Faith asked. "Okay," I whispered. We didn't do anything more than kiss that night. But lying on her couch, wrapped up in each other with the Christmas tree glowing nearby, felt like everything. The following weekend, Faith suggested we bake something together. "I found a recipe for a Christmas cake," she said. "Fair warning, I'm not a great baker." "Neither am I admitted. "Then we'll fail together," Faith said with a smile. I showed up at her apartment Saturday afternoon with the ingredients we'd divided up. Faith had already preheated the oven and laid out mixing bowls. We followed the recipe as best we could, but things went wrong almost immediately. I added too much flour. Faith forgot the baking powder. We argued playfully about whether the batter was supposed to be that lumpy. By the time the cake went into the oven, we were both covered in flour and laughing. "This is going to be a disaster," I said. "Probably," Faith agreed. "But at least it'll be our disaster." While the cake baked, we cleaned up the kitchen. Faith turned on music, some old jazz I didn't recognize but liked. We moved around each other icily, falling into a comfortable rhythm. When the timer went off, we pulled the cake out. It looked lopsided and slightly burned on one edge, but it smelled amazing. "Well," Faith said, staring at it, "it's definitely a cake." I burst out laughing. "It's terrible." "The worst cake I've ever seen," Faith agreed. We let it cool, then cut into it anyway. It tasted better than it looked, sweet and warm and imperfect. We ate it on the couch, plates balanced on our knees, and Faith suggested a movie. "Something romantic?" she asked. "Sure," I said. She put on an old classic, something in black and white. I'd never seen it, but it drew me in quickly. The story was about 2 women finding each other against all odds, choosing love despite everything trying to keep them apart. Halfway through, I found myself leaning against Faith, her arm around me, both of us absorbed in the story. When the couple on screen finally kissed after years of longing, I felt Faith's hand tighten slightly on my shoulder. I turned to look at her. She was already looking at me. "Kayla," she said softly. I didn't answer with words. I just leaned up and kissed her. Slow at first, then deeper. Faith's hand came up to cup my face, her thumb stroking my cheek. The movie played on, forgotten. All that mattered was this moment, this feeling, this woman. Faith pulled back slightly, her forehead resting against mine. "Are you sure?" she whispered. "I'm sure," I said. She stood and took my hand, leading me to her bedroom. The space was dimly lit, warm and inviting. Faith turned to face me, her gray eyes searching mine. "I want you to know something," she said. "This isn't just physical for me. You're not just anyone. You're everything." My heart squeezed. "You're everything to me too." We came together slowly. Faith's hands were gentle as they found the hem of my shirt, asking permission with her eyes before lifting it over my head. I did the same with hers, both of us taking our time, memorizing each moment. When we finally lay down together, skin against skin, it felt like coming home. Faith touched me like I was precious, like every inch of me mattered. Her lips traced patterns across my shoulder, my collarbone, down to where my heart was racing. "You're beautiful," she whispered against my skin. I pulled her closer, needing to feel all of her. "So are you." We moved together in the dim light, learning each other's rhythms, discovering what made the other sigh, what made us both catch our breath. Faith was patient and attentive, reading my body like she'd been studying it for years. When my hands explored her, she guided me gently, showing me what she liked, trusting me with her vulnerability. The way she responded to my touch made me feel powerful and cherished all at once. Time stopped meaning anything. There was only the two of us, the warmth of her skin, the sound of our breathing, the way she said my name like it was a prayer. When we finally reached that peak together, holding each other tight, it felt like everything clicked into place. Like all the moments leading up to this had been building to something perfect. Afterward, we lay tangled together, both of us breathing hard, both of us glowing. Faith pulled the blanket over us and gathered me close. I started, then couldn't find the words. "I know," Faith said, kissing my forehead. "I know." I curled into her side, my hand resting over her heart, feeling it beat steady and strong beneath my palm. "I love you," I said. The words came easily, naturally, like they'd been waiting to be spoken. Faith's arms tightened around me. "I love you too, Kayla, so much." We stayed like that for a long time, wrapped up in each other, in the quiet aftermath of something profound. The movie had ended in the other room. The apartment was silent except for our breathing and the distant sound of rain starting to fall outside. "Stay," Faith said softly. "Not just tonight. Stay with me." I looked up at her. "I'm not going anywhere." She smiled and kissed me again. Tender and slow, full of promise and belonging. That night, falling asleep in Faith's arms after making love for the first time, I felt completely and utterly home. Not because of where I was, but because of who I was with. Faith had seen me, chosen me, loved me, and I had finally let myself be seen, chosen, and loved in return. It was everything I'd been too afraid to hope for, and it was real. I woke up in Faith's arms. Morning light filtered through her bedroom curtains, soft and golden. She was still asleep, her breathing steady and calm. I watched her for a moment, taking in the peaceful expression on her face. This felt right, being here, being with her. All the doubts I'd carried seemed smaller in the morning light. Faith's eyes opened slowly. When she saw me watching her, she smiled. "Good morning." "Morning," I said. "Sleep well." "Better than I have in months." We got up eventually and Faith made breakfast. Just pancakes, cereal, and milk, but it tasted perfect. We ate at her kitchen table, talking about our plans for the day. I had some work to finish. She had a property showing in the afternoon. "Can I see you this week?" Faith asked as I was getting ready to leave. "Definitely," I said. She walked me to the door. Before I left, she pulled me close and kissed me. Slow and thorough, like she was memorizing the moment. Text me when you get home, she said. It's just 2 floors down, I pointed out. I know, text me anyway. I smiled and left. When I got to my apartment, I sent her a message. Made it safely. Thanks for last night. Her response came immediately. Thank you for staying. You made my weekend perfect. I spent the rest of Sunday working on illustrations, but my mind kept drifting to Faith. The way she held me. The way she looked at me. The way everything felt easy and natural when we were together. Monday morning, I went into the studio. My coworker Nova noticed something different immediately. You're glowing, she said. What happened? I tried to play it cool. Nothing. Just had a good weekend. With someone, Nova pressed. I hesitated, then decided to be honest. Yeah, with someone. Nova grinned. Tell me everything. I gave her the basics. Left out the age gap at first, but eventually she asked how old Faith was. When I told her, Nova's eyes widened. 53, seriously. Yeah, I said, bracing for judgment. But Nova just smiled. Good for you. Age is just a number if you're both happy. Her acceptance made me feel lighter. Maybe this didn't have to be as complicated as I'd made it in my head. That evening, Faith and I met for dinner at a small Italian place. We sat in a corner booth, sharing lasagna and talking about our days. It felt domestic, comfortable, like we'd been doing this for years. After dinner, we walked through downtown. Christmas lights were everywhere, making the city look magical. Faith took my hand as we walked, and I didn't pull away. Kayla, Faith said as we stood looking at a lit-up fountain. I want you to know something. What? I'm not playing games with you. This isn't casual for me. I know we haven't been doing this long, but I'm serious about you. My heart squeezed. I'm serious about you too. Good, Faith said, because I don't want there to be any confusion about what this is. What I want it to be. What do you want it to be? I asked. Faith turned to face me fully. I want you to be mine, and I want to be yours, if you'll have me. I looked at her standing there under the Christmas lights, vulnerable and honest and so incredibly beautiful. Yes, I said, I'll have you. Faith's smile was radiant. She pulled me close and kissed me right there in the middle of downtown Tacoma. People walked past us, but I didn't care. All that mattered was this moment, this woman, this feeling. When we finally pulled apart, Faith rested her forehead against mine. You've made me so happy, she whispered. You've made me happy too, I said. We walked back to our building hand in hand. In the elevator, Faith pressed me gently against the wall and kissed me again. Deeper this time, more urgent. Come to my place, she said against my lips. Okay, I breathed. We barely made it through her apartment door before we were kissing again. Faith's hands were in my hair. Mine were gripping her jacket. Everything felt electric, charged with months of buildup and wanting. Are you sure? Faith asked, pulling back slightly. I'm sure, I said. She led me to her bedroom. What happened next was slow and careful and perfect. Faith touched me like I was precious, like I mattered. And I touched her back, learning her, discovering what made her sigh, what made her smile. Afterward, we lay tangled together, both of us breathing hard, both of us glowing. Wow, I said. Faith laughed softly. Yeah, wow. I curled into her side, feeling safe and satisfied and so completely content. Stay, Faith said. Not just tonight. Stay whenever you want. My door is always open to you. I looked up at her. Really? Really? Faith said. You're mine now, remember? That means you're always welcome here. I kissed her shoulder. I like being yours. I like you being mine too, Faith said, holding me tighter. I fell asleep in her arms, happier than I'd been in my entire life. The next morning, I woke up alone. I panicked for a second, until I heard sounds from the kitchen. I pulled on Faith's t-shirt from the night before and padded out to find her making coffee. She looked up when she heard me and smiled. "Good morning, beautiful." "Morning," I said, feeling shy suddenly. Faith poured me a cup of coffee and we sat together at her kitchen table. Everything felt natural, easy, like we'd been doing this forever. "I have to go into the studio today," I said, "but maybe we could do something tonight." "I'd like that," Faith said. We kissed goodbye at her door. I went down to my apartment to change and get ready for work. As I was leaving my building, I ran into the older couple from the third floor. They smiled at me. Then the woman leaned in conspiratorially. "We saw you and Faith at the fountain last night. You two look lovely together." My face heated. "Thank you." "Don't listen to the gossips," the man added. "Some people have nothing better to do than talk. But what you two have looks real." I smiled, touched by their kindness. "It is real." At work, I couldn't focus. My mind kept drifting to Faith. The way she'd touched me, the way she'd looked at me, the way everything felt right when we were together. Around lunch, my phone buzzed. A text from Faith. "Thinking about you." I smiled and texted back. "Thinking about you too. Can't wait to see you tonight." "Same here." The afternoon dragged. Finally, 5 o'clock came and I packed up my things. On my way out, Nova caught me. "You're glowing again," she said. "Must have been some night." I blushed. "It was." "I'm happy for you, Kayla." Her words stayed with me as I rode the bus home. I did deserve this. I deserved to be happy, to be loved, to take a chance on something real. I was halfway home when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello? Is this Kayla Hale?" A woman's voice, professional but cold. "Yes, who's this?" "My name is Rebecca. I'm a friend of Faith's. I thought you should know something about her." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "Faith has a pattern. She always goes for younger women, uses them for a while, then moves on. I just thought you should know what you're getting into." My heart was pounding. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I was one of those women once, and I don't want to see someone else get hurt." She hung up before I could respond. I stood on the sidewalk, my phone still pressed to my ear, feeling like the ground had dropped out from under me. Was this true? Was Faith just playing me? Had I been stupid to trust her? I thought about the dress, the camping trip, the way she'd held me last night. It had all felt so real. But what if it wasn't? I walked the rest of the way home in a daze. When I got to my apartment, I didn't text Faith like I normally would. I just sat on my couch, staring at nothing, wondering if everything I thought I knew was a lie. My phone buzzed. "Faith, still on for tonight." I stared at the message. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I wanted to ask her about Rebecca, about the younger women, about whether any of this was real, but I couldn't type the words. Instead, I just wrote back. Something came up. "Can we reschedule?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Of course. "Yeah, just tired. Long day." "Okay, get some rest. Talk tomorrow." "Sure." I put my phone face down on the coffee table and pulled my knees to my chest. I wanted to believe Faith. I wanted to trust that what we had was real. But Rebecca's words kept echoing in my head. She has a pattern. Always younger women. Uses them and moves on. I didn't know what to believe anymore. I avoided Faith for 3 days. Every time she texted, I gave short responses. Work was busy. I wasn't feeling well. I needed space. All technically true, but also carefully designed to keep distance between us. Faith didn't push. She accepted my excuses graciously, said she understood, told me to take all the time I needed. That almost made it worse. Thursday afternoon, I was leaving the studio when I heard voices in the stairwell of my building. I was about to open the door when I recognized Faith's voice. "I won't cross that line," she was saying. "Not with her. She's too important." I froze, my hand on the door handle. Who was she talking to? What line? Another voice responded, male, unfamiliar. You always say that. Then you get in too deep and someone gets hurt. This is different, Faith said firmly. How? Because she's younger. Because she's vulnerable. Faith, you need to think about what you're doing. I'm thinking that Kayla is the best thing that's happened to me in years, and I'm not going to ruin it by rushing or pushing or being careless. Then maybe you should let her go before it gets more complicated. No, Faith said. I can't do that. The conversation continued, but I couldn't hear any more over the rushing in my ears. I backed away from the door and took the elevator instead, my mind spinning. What did that mean? What line was she talking about? Was she planning to leave me? Was this all temporary to her? I got to my apartment and sat on my bed, feeling like I might be sick. Rebecca had been right. Faith was going to hurt me. She'd said it herself. This always ended badly. My phone rang. Faith. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. I didn't answer. Then a text came through. Kayla, please talk to me. I can tell something's wrong. Whatever it is, we can work through it. I stared at the message. Part of me wanted to believe her. But the other part, the scared part, just wanted to protect myself. Another text. I'm coming to your apartment. If you don't want to see me, tell me now and I'll respect that. But I need to know you're okay. I didn't respond. 5 minutes later, there was a knock on my door. I knew it was Faith before I even looked through the peephole. I opened the door slowly. Faith stood there, concern written all over her face. Kayla, she said softly. What's going on? I heard you, I said. In the stairwell, talking about crossing lines and things getting complicated. Understanding dawned on Faith's face. You misunderstood. Did I? Because it sounded like you were planning an exit strategy. That's not what that was, Faith said. Can I come in, please? I hesitated, then stepped aside. Faith came in and closed the door behind her. That was my brother, Faith said. He's been worried about me, about us. He thinks the age gap is too big, that I'm being reckless. And what do you think? I asked. I think he's wrong, Faith said firmly. The line I won't cross isn't ending things with you. It's pushing you too fast, overwhelming you, making you feel like you have to be anything other than exactly who you are. I felt tears prick my eyes. Someone called me, said you have a pattern, that you always date younger women and then leave them. Faith's expression darkened. Rebecca, you know her? I dated her briefly, 2 years ago. It didn't work out. She wasn't happy about it. Faith stepped closer. Kayla, I'm not going to lie to you. I have dated younger women before, but I've also dated women my own age. I've had relationships that worked and relationships that didn't, just like everyone else. But why me? I asked, my voice breaking. Why go to all this trouble for me? Faith reached out and gently cupped my face. Because when I saw you that morning in the lobby, dropping your keys and smiling, I saw someone real, someone genuine, someone I wanted to know, not because of your age, but because of who you are. I'm scared, I whispered. I know, Faith said. So am I, but I'm more scared of losing you than I am of facing those fears. I looked into her gray eyes and saw only truth there, only honesty and vulnerability, and something that looked a lot like love. I don't know how to do this, I said. Neither do I, Faith admitted, but I want to figure it out with you, if you'll let me. I thought about Rebecca's call, about the conversation in the stairwell, about all my doubts and fears. Then I thought about Faith holding me in the tent, about decorating the Christmas tree together, about the way she looked at me like I mattered. I almost sent the dress back, Faith said quietly. I kept it in my apartment for days, too afraid to send it, afraid you'd reject it, afraid I was crossing a line. But then I decided that not taking the chance would be worse than facing rejection. My chest tightened. You almost didn't send it. I almost didn't, Faith confirmed, because I was terrified, just like you are now. I realized then that Faith had been brave, She'd taken a risk on me when she had no guarantee I'd respond. And here I was, pulling away at the first sign of difficulty. "I'm sorry," I said, "for avoiding you, for not talking to you about this." "You don't have to apologize," Faith said. "You were protecting yourself. I understand that." "I don't want to protect myself from you anymore," I said. "I want to trust you." "Then trust me," Faith said. "And I'll trust you. And we'll figure this out together." I stepped forward and wrapped my arms around her. Faith held me tight, her face pressed into my hair. "I'm not going anywhere," she whispered. "Not unless you want me to." "I don't want you to," I said. "I want you to stay." "Then I will," Faith promised. We stood there holding each other for a long time, and slowly the fear started to fade. Not completely, but enough that I could breathe again. "Stay tonight?" I asked. "Okay," Faith said. We ordered takeout and ate on my couch. We watched a movie, curled up together under a blanket. And when we went to bed, Faith held me close and I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, this could work, that we could work. The weeks after that conversation were different. Better Faith and I stopped dancing around each other and started really being together. No more holding back, no more second-guessing everything. We spent Christmas together. I cooked dinner at my place while Faith brought wine and dessert. We exchanged gifts. Mine was a leather-bound journal I'd found at a vintage store. Hers was a professional-grade drawing tablet I'd been eyeing for months. "Wow, thank you," I said when I opened it. "Welcome, my love," Faith said. "You're an artist. You deserve good tools." New Year's Eve we spent at her apartment, just the two of us. We watched the countdown on TV, kissed at midnight, and fell asleep wrapped around each other. In January, Faith's lease on one of her rental properties ended, and she didn't renew it. She told me she was thinking about selling some of her investments, focusing more on life and less on work. "I've spent years building this business," she said one evening as we made dinner together in her kitchen. "But I don't want to spend the next 20 years doing only that." "What do you want?" I asked. Faith looked at me. "I want to travel. I want to take you to places you've never been. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to build a life, not just a portfolio." My heart swelled. I want that too. In February, Faith asked me to move in with her. We were lying in her bed after making love, both of us warm and content. "Move in with me," she said, officially. "Bring all your things. Make this your home too." I turned to look at her. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything," Faith said. I thought about my apartment. It had served its purpose, been my safe space for 2 years. But it had never felt like home. Not really. Faith's apartment, with its high ceilings and big windows, and the Christmas tree we'd decorated together, that felt like home. "Okay," I said. "Yes, I'll move in." Faith's smile was brilliant. She kissed me deeply, pulling me on top of her. "You just made me the happiest woman alive." "Good," I said between kisses. That was the plan. We spent the next few weeks slowly transitioning my things, my art supplies, my clothes, my books. Faith made space for everything, reorganizing her closets and shelves so I had room. "This is our home now," she said as we arranged my artwork on the walls. "I want you to feel like you belong here." "I do," I said. "I really do." By March, I was fully moved in. My old apartment was empty, the keys turned in. Everything I owned was now in Faith's place. Our place. One Saturday morning, I woke up to find Faith already awake, watching me with soft eyes. "What?" I asked, smiling. "Just thinking about how lucky I am," Faith said. "6 months ago, you were a stranger. Now you're the person I want to spend the rest of my life with." My breath caught. "The rest of your life." "If you'll have me that long," Faith said. I reached out and touched her face. "I'll have you as long as you want me." "Forever then," Faith said, "because I'm not planning on letting you go." I kissed her, slow and sweet and full of promise. Outside the window, spring was starting to show itself. Flowers blooming, trees budding, everything coming back to life, just like me. Faith had taken a chance on me with that dress. She'd been patient when I was scared, honest when I doubted, steady when I wavered. And now, here we were, living together, building a life together, choosing each other every single day. It wasn't always perfect. We had disagreements, moments of frustration, times when the age gap showed itself in small ways. But we talked through everything. We were honest. We chose to keep choosing each other. "I love you," I said against Faith's lips. "I love you too," Faith said. So much. We spent that morning in bed, making love and talking and laughing. Then we got up and made breakfast together, moving around the kitchen like we'd been doing it for years. This was my life now, our life, and it was more beautiful than anything I could have imagined when I opened that mysterious package all those months ago. Faith had sent me a dress and a note. "Wear this to the party, from someone who loves you." And now, finally, I understood. She had loved me even before I knew her, loved the possibility of us, loved me enough to take a risk, and I loved her back. Completely, wholly, without reservation. We were building something real, something lasting, something worth every moment of fear and doubt I'd gone through to get here. As I stood in our kitchen, watching Faith flip pancakes and hum along to music, I realized I'd never been happier. This was home. She was home. And I was never letting go. If you're standing in front of a moment that scares you, pause, but don't run. Some doors don't knock twice. Love doesn't always arrive loud. Sometimes it arrives gentle, asking for courage. If life gives you a choice, choose what feels real. Don't let fear write your story. Don't let doubt steal your chances. Don't wait until you feel ready, because you might wait forever. Take the risk. Wear the dress. Show up to the party. Let yourself fall. Trust that even if it hurts, even if it's hard, even if it doesn't look the way you planned, it will be worth it. Because the greatest things in life live on the other side of fear. And you deserve to find out what's waiting for you there. So whatever your dress is, whatever moment is waiting for you to be brave, go find it. Put it on. Walk through that door. Your story is waiting to be written. Make it a good one.
I lived inside my doubt, kept my answers half out. Plans drawn thin and small, brace myself for falls. I trusted clocks, not signs, measured risk in lines and timing bent its rules, showed me different views. You saw truth I concealed, named a fear I revealed. Oh, you read me without sound, turned my fear around. I said yes, unsure, afraid. That one yes reshaped my days. I dressed hope and restraint, kept my courage faint. Thought love wore younger faces, moved in matching paces. They certain he stood tall, didn't rush me at all, just waited firm and kind, like patience redesigned. You read me without sound, turned my fear around. I said yes, unsure, afraid. That one yes reshaped my days. If the future breaks its script, if my courage starts to slip, I'll recall the way I grew by believing what felt true. Not all gifts come with a name, some arrive without their claim. All it I said yes, unsure, afraid. That one yes reshaped my days. My days. Now my life feels wide. Since I chose the right.
Thank you for watching Sapphic Story Hour. Please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, bye-bye.